Ole Miss is a team that is well positioned to make a run, I believe. I don't care a bit that Georgia and Ohio State is in their side of the bracket. We'll talk to Jake Crain about the playoffs. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member at Ole Miss as well. We're going to bring in Jake Crain from Crain and Company to talk about the college football playoff and the Ole Miss versus Tulane game, the bracket, all of the other games that are going on, because Ole Miss fans, you are still playing meaningful football, and that is something worth paying attention to. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network in the country. We're going to talk with Jake Crain about everything that is going on, and we'll dive into what this Tulane versus Ole Miss matchup actually means. All this and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. So order your tickets through Game Time. They do this unbelievable thing to where you can get $20 off by using the promo code Locked On College. That is perfect for entry in what will be an expensive college football playoff game as well. So we'll see exactly how that goes. All right, Jake, one thing that's interesting, man, we got a rematch of the Ole Miss Tulane game. Ole Miss won that game 45-10. You're going to get a better effort from the Green Wave this time, but this is a game that Ole Miss should win.
Yeah, I think the spread also reflects that. It's not like it was close and you just survived this game. Like, thank goodness it's not Washington State, right? But no, Stephen, I think the most interesting part, or one of the most interesting part outside of who got left out when the bracket came through, was that if you're an Ole Miss fan, and I think this is a good thing, you've already seen this movie a couple times. You know that you can obviously beat Tulane and you're a better team than Tulane. But I actually think if you look at drawing Georgia, maybe outside of Texas Tech, that was best case scenario for the top four, even without Lane Kiffin. I know Charlie's coming back. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like not having Lane Kiffin helps you, but I don't think it hurts you to a degree where the players are going to lose confidence, especially offensively going into this game with what they did on the road at Georgia. So as an Ole Miss fan, I would actually feel a lot better knowing that you know who you can be against both of these teams. I don't think it's oh no, well, we got to play these teams twice. Tulane, you should be better than. You'd have to play really bad, and they'd have to play really well for that game to be close. But then Georgia, it's not like you won the game the first time. Yeah, you played really good, but there's some things I think you can adjust to, and they will adjust, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I thought Ole Miss got a pretty good draw at the end of the day.
Yeah, the chance for them to make a run in this playoff, it's all in front. And when you have the chaos that Ole Miss has gone through, it helps that you have two complete game plans already set out. Ole Miss probably only ran 50% of the game plan in each of those. So those plays, those things are going to be available for Charlie Weiss and Pete Golding and all of that. Because you're right, in that Georgia game, Ole Miss did not play well in the fourth quarter of that game. They didn't play well defensively the whole game. So that Pete Golding can adjust to that. And if still, with all that going on, if Ole Miss makes a tackle on a 4th and 2, Ole Miss comes out of Athens, Georgia with a win.
Yeah, and Trinidad should be confident. Obviously, the wide receiver group should be confident. You have a running back and an offensive line that in tandem can do some damage, even though Georgia's one of the best teams in the country against the run. But where I think Ole Miss found opportunities is the one quote-unquote weak spot of Georgia's defense is the pass rush. Now, as I've said multiple times, a sack isn't the only good thing that can come from a pass rush. And when you have a quarterback that's not mobile, just moving him off of his spot or crowding him in the pocket can really affect things. But when you have a guy that can run like Trinidad, it's not just the escapability of being able to get out of a pocket that's being pushed or having the athleticism needed to make a guy miss and get out and extend a play. It's the threat of you running slows down that pass rush. You have to be even more disciplined in your lanes, and the smarter you are, the less athletic it's going to be. That's a saying in sports that I think is as true as it ever was today. Now, on the other hand, I do think rematches benefit defenses more than they do offenses, right? Because you have an idea of the way the team wants to attack you. You have an idea of the way they're going to adjust if you attack them a certain way. So I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as the first time we saw, but you already have an idea of what you want to do, and more importantly, you know you have the personnel, at least on the offensive side, to be able to hang in there with Georgia. Then against Tulane, you want to go against tendency and self-scout and do all that, but to be honest with you, it'd look a whole hell of a lot similar the way I attacked Tulane this time as I did the first time, because I think that's more of a personnel issue across the board and on the line of scrimmage.
Yes, and Kewan Lacey's a different running back now than what he was in September. Tulane having to adjust to that. The offensive line has gotten a lot better. I think that Ole Miss is just going to, honestly, you know what they say about road games, pack your run game and pack your defense and just get on and try and make it to the Sugar Bowl against Georgia. I think that's the plan.
Yeah, and you're going to have the home field advantage. Just at the end of the day, you don't have to be a football savant or an analyst or expert to realize you. And I think what John Summerall's done at Tulane is awesome. I think he's going to do pretty well at Florida. He was a guy that I was really hoping Auburn would get, even though I'm not as upset with the goalish hire as I would have been for Durkin. But make no mistake, it is a lot better draw playing Tulane than to be hosting Miami. I can promise you that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one thing that's interesting about this, I believe that Oklahoma's hosting, Texas A&M's hosting, Ole Miss is hosting. I think those are the first three teams in the SEC that got a host spot, right? No, Texas did last year, right?
Yeah, well,
I think Texas did last year.
Texas, I believe, did. It's obviously 75% SEC, which is, really just kind of the way the dominoes fell. You'll hear SEC bias all the time, and then you look up and the top two teams are out of the Big Ten. But no, it's an awesome opportunity. The environment's going to be incredible. Look, at this point in time, I think every environment's going to be incredible. Oregon's going to be absolutely nuts. We know College Station is going to be nuts. I love it. I think it makes sense. I think it's everything that's great about college athletics and college football. And I tell you, with all the stuff that happened with Lane, and I understand, and I think it's a rational thought for Ole Miss fans to be pissed at Lane after what happened. What a great reward, though. You get to host a college football playoff game where you're a huge favorite. So again, at the end of the day, what an amazing time for Ole Miss athletics. What an amazing time for the city of Oxford and all these other host sites. I can't wait, and I love that it's a part of it.
Yeah, it should be pretty fun. I think the game is at 2:30 Central Time on TNT. It's kind of funny that TNT got both of the G5 teams in their games because ESPN kept the other game.
That's not a coincidence.
Yeah, it's absolutely hilarious, but it's going to be nuts. The hotels are already going on like a 2 or 3 night minimum is like $1,000 a night.
Yeah.
The small college town in the South, for people that might not be from this area that's happened to watch this, it's ridiculous. Like the local watering holes have like $200 cover charges. They're going to line up for what's going on. The amount of money that's going to be put into a town that is about 20,000 in population is going to be unfathomable.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing that will ever happen in Oxford, Mississippi. Like, they're not going to host a World Cup in Oxford, Mississippi. It's a, you feel like it could happen multiple times, but again, how many opportunities like this, actually come around? So yeah, it's going to be treated like an apocalyptic event, but in a good way, unless you lose, and then some people will look at it like an apocalyptic event. But no, it's awesome, man. This is what, again, like if you grew up in a college town or you follow a team from a college town, you understand the importance of this for everybody, and it's all positive. Like, everything's a positive. So yeah, that doesn't shock me, and good on them. They'll make a good chunk of change.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about Alabama because they have a similar scenario, but they obviously have had teams that have had numbers next to their names more often. But this is the biggest sporting event in the history of the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to go back through and see if
Yeah,
there was
what would
something in my
Alabama?
mind I could think of.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
yeah. What would it be the same way if Alabama or Auburn hosted a playoff game? I'm talking about in the state. They've obviously won the games
Yeah.
in the previous, but they haven't won it in the state of Alabama. I was wondering if there was anything similar like that in Alabama.
Well, I don't think so. Obviously, basketball's been nuts, but nothing will ever compare to football in the state of Alabama. I would say yes. It would be the biggest thing if Auburn or Alabama hosted, but the biggest thing that could possibly ever happen was to what would be for Auburn and Alabama to play each other in the first round of the playoff in one of those cities. So can you imagine that? You want to
Oh
talk
my!
about apocalyptic?
Oh
Like
my
that's like I
goodness!
think that's the plot to the last Mission Impossible movie they made.
Yeah, that would be absolutely nuts if it got that. It'd be like the Egg Bowl in the first round of the playoffs. Can
I
you
mean,
imagine that?
I
Yeah,
can't even like my mind.
yeah.
It's like me trying to think of that as me trying to figure out really what happened at the end of Interstellar. Like I don't know. I can't see past a certain point for it to make sense.
All right. Whenever we come back, we're going to keep talking with Jake Crain about the college football playoff and this big matchup. It should be really fun. Stick around for that. But first, I do want to let you know the holidays always feel a little bit easier, especially when you already know that perfect gift. Omaha Steaks makes that almost too simple if we're going to be honest about it. Whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to their door. And this is the best time to jump in. The quality is exactly what you hope for. Incredibly tender steaks, rich flavor, and meals that make hosting or weeknight cooking even easier. Honestly, it's the kind of gift that brings people together. So save big on these unforgettable gifts from Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale, and an additional $35 off by using the promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's Omaha Steaks. Promo code COLLEGE. Terms apply. See site for details. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcatcher you're listening to and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but keeps all of this for free. And thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in America. You already live your team every single day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Ole Miss with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 per month or $50 per year. Go to lockedonolemess.supercast.com or check the link down in the show notes to learn more. All right, Jake. This is really interesting with what's going on and what happened. Oklahoma got in as the #8 seed. They're going to host Alabama like 3 weeks after they defeated Alabama in Tuscaloosa. You have Texas A&M hosting Miami. Obviously, they bumped Notre Dame out of the top 20 or out of the playoffs, and Notre Dame took their ball and went home immediately after that. And then you have Ole Miss and Tulane, Oregon, and James Madison. I think my gut, Ole Miss kind of got lucky that they didn't get James Madison because they're the sneaky G5 team that can really wreck your Saturday.
Man, I'm going to be honest. I think Ole Miss got lucky they didn't get Miami. I think they're lucky they got put in front of A&M because I thought, and kudos to the committee because if you look in the principles, that's what you want to call them, they can punish you for a player injury or a head coach leaving. And the week that Lane Kiffin did that, Ole Miss actually went up a spot in a good way. So I will say I would much rather, and I've got a lot of respect for Bob Chesney and what he's done with James Madison, and I mentioned Summerall and Tulane. I would much rather play James Madison or Tulane other than Miami or anybody else. I mean, think about it. Where Ole Miss sits out of all the teams that are hosting, outside of Oregon, who is in a spot better than you, so it makes sense. Oklahoma's got to play Bama. Like, I know that Bama hasn't looked great lately. Oklahoma's not exactly tearing it up offensively. I think playing a Tulane or James Madison would have much made Brent Venables a lot happier. And then A&M obviously has to play Miami with, Carson Beck and two sides of the line of scrimmage that can play. So I do agree, James Madison, and anything can happen. But man, if I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm much happier playing, Tulane or James Madison than Miami, because I do think Miami could give Ole Miss a problem. Keep Malachi Toney away from me. If you haven't seen that dude play, he's a problem. He's like 12 years old too.
Yeah, he's a freak. I was having Tulane over James.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the G5s.
G5s.
And look, you already beat him by 35 too, right?
Yeah.
So some people be like, "Well, that's not a good thing. They're going to be motivated." Be like, "What? It's the playoff. What do you mean motivated?" Like, that's always laughed. People are like, "Man, have motivation. They're going to be motivated.
They're going to want it real bad."
My brother in Christ, this is the college football playoff. If you're not motivated to play this game, we need to call the cops. Like, something's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about Pete Golding as far as just take the Lane Kiffin stuff out of it? What do you think about Pete?
Well, I think we got to put it into – I think you got to live in reality, number one. Ole Miss did the smart thing. They did what they needed to do, because Ole Miss is in a situation that none of these other teams that are looking for head coaches are in. Like, you've still got a legitimate chance to win a national title, and you want to keep that continuity. Your head coach just left. You want to keep a guy that's in there. You don't want to have players to learn a new head coach within a time frame of getting ready to play a playoff game. So – in one way, they were forced to do it, but that still doesn't mean it wasn't a smart move. I think it was a smart move. I think they brought the right guy up, and I think I saw some people that are like, well, putting the permanent tag on him, that's a little bit of a step too far. Man, not really. And here's why. Because it's not like you're saying, and Pete understands this, that you're guaranteed a 6-year deal at Ole Miss now for top-level money. No, you basically, because of circumstances, and if you're an Ole Miss fan, what a high-class problem, your circumstances that you're in the college football playoff and you're hosting a first-round game, he goes out and balls, he can earn that longer-term deal. Then you bred him thoroughly. But, A, you don't have to pay him a ton right now because he understands just the importance of this opportunity. You give him that 1 year, basically, I think, trial run, kind of similar – Steven, I know Ole Miss fans may not like this, and it's in a different vein, but to what Zach Arnett had to go through at Mississippi State when they were like, look, this happened with Coach Leach. We'll give him a trial run, right? It's just like getting Hulu for that 7-day free trial after YouTube TV was in that dispute, right? You got some time to prove it to me. If you do, I'm all in. I'm all in on Hulu. I'm all in on Pete Golding. So if he does prove it, then he'll be the head coach for longer. If not, you got a lot of gold saved in the vault to go get a guy. So I thought it was the right move by Keith Carter. The main thing Keith did is he didn't show weakness. That's the thing. And at the end of the day, it's a complex role being the athletic director, but there is a simplistic element to it. You are the king of that jungle. You really are. And, I watched a great movie earlier this week that said, if you are the king, it's not just acting like a king. It is actually being the king. And I think Keith Carter acted and was the king at the end of the day.
Yeah, one thing that Ole Miss fans are kind of excited about, he's a football savant. Just absolutely. This is the same guy that was at UTSA and basically talked himself and got on a whiteboard in front of Nick Saban, impressed him enough to where he was the defensive coordinator after that.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see exactly what gets pulled from those Alabama years, what gets pulled from what he's done at Ole Miss. What would you do if you were Pete Golding coming in? Because the irony of it is the offense that Lane ran and the offense that Ole Miss runs, that is not conducive to a very good defense. That it makes it harder on the defense for what they do. What do you think Pete Golding should do?
Well, again, and yes, Pete's a guy that is his football acumen is very high, and he kind of looks a little like Zach Galifianakis, so I can just imagine him in the Rain Man role, like on The Hangover, sitting at the blackjack table during the game, making all the right moves. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, again, that's something that's known. Here's what I would do, and here's what I think Pete did. Hey, Charlie Weiss Jr., you can come back and you get to call the plays, right? All right. Hey, y'all just keep doing what you're doing on offense. You just keep doing it. I'm going to take care of the defense. I'll handle the team meetings, the motivational stuff, all the speeches, all that. Y'all just keep doing what you're doing. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. The goal is to keep as much continuity as possible because it's too late to change everything. Like you just can't You can't do it. Like, this isn't one of those home makeover shows. Like, they're not going to move the bus right before the Ole Miss game. It's going to be brand new looking house. Like, that's not how this works. It's about keeping continuity. So I'm sure practice structure is pretty much the exact same. The periods during practice are pretty much the exact same. Who is in charge of what from a game planning and preparation standpoint? Because there's so many other things than just, all right, well, now I'm the head coach, so I'm just going to go do head coach things. It's not how it works right now. You're trying to get through this. So I'm sure he's tried to keep everything as the same as possible. Why do you think he didn't have a press conference? Right? He wants no distractions in this. It's same, but different, but still same.
Yeah. Yeah, he mentioned even possibly he's considering even being a head coach in the booth because that's what he did, because that's how much he doesn't want to rock the boat during the playoff and have things kind of similar.
That's going to be tough though, because you got to be in charge of timeouts, man. Like, you got to be on this. You can try it.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think he's ultimately going to be on the field, but
I think he's going to have to be.
Yeah, that kind of shows where his head's at right now.
For sure, which is right.
So, yeah. So when we come back, we will finish up talking with Jake about the college football playoffs, some storylines outside of Oxford, Mississippi, the Notre Dame stuff, all of that. Stick around for that. All right. You know, the World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be absolutely massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets, that's usually the hardest part. That's why Game Time is clutch, finally giving fans the real advantage they deserve when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track down price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they get on the app. It puts the power back in your hands. It makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You pull up the app, and the layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views. Pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. With the seat view feature, that's a game changer. You literally see exactly what the field will look like from your exact seat before you buy. Prices include feeds up front, which I love. No last second surprises with checkout, alerts for teams and matches, make it easy to grab tickets as well. So take the guesswork out of buying those World Cup tickets in every match, concert, and event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. All right. So, Jack, really interesting stuff. Listen.
Hey, Steven, can I ask you a question real quick? Just real quick.
Sure.
You keep up with U.S. soccer, like men's soccer, the national team?
Yeah, a little bit.
Dude, great draw, huh? Feel good about the draw.
Yeah, it's about as good as it can get.
So I don't mean to change the subject. I'm saying I feel pretty good about that. We look like we actually kind of know. You know, we didn't use my plan, Operation Petty Dexterity, which I'll have to explain another time to figure out our soccer stuff, but I like the draw.
Yeah, I think starting out with Paraguay and Los Angeles, that's going to be a clutch thing. So we'll see exactly how that goes. Now, listen, back to the college football playoff. A couple years ago, Florida State famously got knocked out because of Jordan Travis and all of that. After that, after the biggest screw job that the college football committee has ever done, Florida State still put a team together, went down to the Orange Bowl, played games, got their brains beat out in a way that honestly should hurt. Did that influence Notre Dame kind of taking their ball and going home over what happened in the college football playoff this time?
Maybe like the more they sat around and thought about it, but to me, look, I grew up in the old school line of thinking you get a chance to compete. But part of me's, and this goes to the biggest problem I have outside of just the way our playoff stuff is structured, which that's another philosophical argument. But to me, I think it was that they just the committee played games with Notre Dame up until the last second, kind of like they did with Florida State. Like, if you're going to keep Notre Dame out, we should have known this for 2 or 3 weeks. Like, there's no reason people are still going to watch, but they just do this every time. Remember, they did it with Florida State a couple years ago. They did it with Bama and SMU last year, and they did it this year with Notre Dame. It's all just an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Just every time at the end, we just find out once again that Bruce Willis has been dead the whole time. He's been a ghost this whole time. So I think they were more upset that they got strung along. Now, between Alabama, Miami, and Notre Dame, the right teams got in within the rules that we have, which are ridiculous. Notre Dame's biggest gripe shouldn't be with Alabama or Miami. It should be with James Madison and Tulane being in the field. There's no way. If we're trying to get the 12 best teams, there doesn't need to be any auto bids. What we should do, you should have 14 teams should make the postseason. 10 should be locked in, and then 11 through 14, you should have a play-in game. So it's 2 games total. And the winner of the 11 versus 14 gets the 11 seed in the final 12-team tournament that the 10 are already in. And the winner of the 12 and the 13 seed gets the 12 and final at-large spot to be in the 12-team tournament, and then we go. But that's not how we do it because we're stupid. And that's just the nature of the beast. So, I mean, at the end of the day, within a flawed system, they got strung along, and they feel petty about it. And I don't blame them. I'd have been really upset too. And the players voted on it. Like, if the players don't want to play, you don't need to play. Like, you can like that or not like that, but the players didn't want to play. So it is what it is.
And the crazy thing is Notre Dame got mad at the ACC for going to bat for Miami in this situation. Saying
what?
It's like Miami's actually in the conference, and you are like the hot girlfriend side piece.
You think again, but you want to be the side piece. That's the problem. You don't want to be in the relationship. You're not a home wrecker unless you get caught. You don't want the person to tell their wife that you really want to be with you and you'd be a better mom than she would. You don't want that. You just like coming over after Friday nights after the karaoke bar with the girls. Like, let's be honest. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. I find it ironic that a team that is, and again, they've been smart to not join a conference. I just find it ironic that a team that is not in a conference, but chooses one of the weaker conferences to play some of their games and then handpicks the rest of their schedule, then wants to pout to everybody else when they get left out. Like, I just think it's the most pick-me-girl thing I've ever seen in my life, just in college football form. And I got a lot of respect for Notre Dame. I think they should have been in, but just not in the way they think they should have been in.
Yeah, and I don't think that they handled it well after they weren't in.
But see, I wouldn't either. Like, that'd be hypocritical. Marcus Freeman's a gentleman compared to me. They could not put me on TV if I was the head coach. The things I would say.
Put your fingers in the ear and you're stamping your feet. No,
they'd have to chloroform me and then just put me in a black site for like a week and then I'll be all right. But like, don't put me in front of a camera. The things I would say would be personal about the committee.
College football playoff. Who's going to win?
Ohio State. Hate to burst everybody's bubble. They're going to win it. Because here's the thing. The craziest part about Indiana beating Ohio State is Indiana didn't play perfect. Like, you pretty much had to play perfect against Ohio State to win, at least I thought. So that's kudos to Indiana. I just don't see lightning striking twice. I don't. Ohio State, just their margin for error is so much bigger than everybody else's. I don't know. Give me Ohio State. Hot take, I know.
Yeah. So we're going with that, which means that everybody, the anti-SEC squad on X, they're just going to be able to fire it up then. So thank you, Jake.
Well,
I'm going to blame you for that.
The way we measure like who's the best conference. I mean, I think it's got to be top to bottom depth. That's the only way, right? Like, you can't just be one person. Like, one team wins it, so that conference is the best. But you know how people are.
Yeah. Absolutely nuts. What do you got going on at Crain and Company, bud?
Bro, we literally had a big interview from a Notre Dame affiliate. It's interesting, the points they're trying to make. I get it. Look, if it fits your narrative, reach for it. Reach for it. I do the same thing. But no, we got previews of the games, including Ole Miss and Tulane. We're going to deep dive into that one. Just really excited, man. If you love college football, college sports, go to YouTube, Crain & Company, CRAIN & Company. We're almost at 200,000 subs. Maybe you could be the one that gets us there. And listen, I like Oxford, so just come help a friend out.
Jake Crain, thank you very much for joining us, bud.
See you, Steven. Congrats, buddy.
Thank you. Take care, bud.
See you.
All right. Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. And we are going to continue with a live show tonight talking about the playoffs, getting ready for what can happen. We should have Dalen Flowers on this show as well. Make sure you subscribe and follow the show so you can get all the latest episodes. We're on all the social channels as well, so check that out. Did Locked On Ole Miss make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayers Club. Just tag our National Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform, and we will drop the code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayers Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord. For those of you on video, we're going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network podcast as well. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On College Football. Hotty toddy, everyone. The biggest game in Mississippi history is about a week and a half away, so stick around for that. Hotty toddy, y'all.